What is going on, everybody? So the Biden administration decided to penalize people with good credit and then good income and a big down payment, and then the people that they don't have so much money, they're gonna benefit from this act. Let's take a closer look at what is going on and what the Biden administration has decided to push as an effective housing action. That's gonna go in effect May 1st. Let's take a closer look and then tell me if you guys think this is fair or if you guys understand the bigger picture here. So first of all, the bigger idea what got out on the news is that people with good credit scores are gonna have to pay more a month to subsidize the bad loans, the loans that they have smaller down payment and then a worse credit score. So this kind of balances out the market. I'm gonna switch here to the tablet and you guys can see what exactly has happened. So it says Biden to hike payments for good credit home buyers to subsidize high risk mortgages, right? So good credit is gonna equal higher monthly payment. So this is gonna come as a higher fee monthly. Now this is for people that they're applying for a mortgage right now and they are credit worthy, they have excellent credit score, and on top of that they have a bigger down payment. The whole deal is effective May 1st, FHFA push for affordable housing. This will affect mortgages originating at private banks, right, across the country. Federally backed home mortgage companies Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac will enact LLPAs, loan level price adjustment. Let me walk you through how this works and exactly what it means if you're a home buyer right now. If you are a buyer and you do everything right, and then we're looking at a credit score right now at 6.5 to 6.75, let's say that you lock it down at 6.5. So if you have a credit score of 740 and then you can lock down your rate at 6.5 with no points on the loan, and then you put a 20% down payment, you're gonna have $40 a month more to pay at a $400,000 loan. Let me walk you through why this is the case to see what's the idea behind it, and then we can talk about what do we think about that. This is how it works in a regular bank. If you have a 720 FICO, you're gonna get a 6.5% as well, like the guy above you, which had a little bit of a higher credit score, but you're gonna get 0.20 basis points. These are the basis points right here, are those right here, right? So loan level price adjustment points. So you get 0.20 basis points on top of your credit score every month. So your monthly payment for your loan is gonna be a little bit higher than the guy that has a 740 FICO. Now, the more your credit score drops, the more the basis points go up on the loan, which is fees on the loan. And on top of that, this thing here, which is your main interest rate, is gonna start going up as well. So let's say in this country, you can buy a home as little as a 580 FICO score, and then you might get a 7.2 interest rate and maybe 2 basis points on the loan. That's gonna be the most expensive option for you if you have the worst credit score, the minimum down payment. It's a worst loan overall if you compare it to this guy right here, right? Way worse. Now, what these guys are saying is that this guy right here, okay, especially if he's a minority, he's black, he's Hispanic, needs some more help because he's a riskier loan and has more chances on defaulting on his loan. So they're saying that you up here, which you are the best case, you're gonna have to help this guy right here because you have to subsidize his risk. This is not a new thing, right? This happened again in 2008. Things are not that bad. The banks are more transparent. The fees are more transparent. That's why we know about this before it goes into effect. Smash that like button, subscribe, and if you have some time, watch another video too. So we'll have to take this into consideration. What this means is the banks and then the government try to make riskier assets, or riskier liabilities, because that's more of a liability, a loan that's the guy had a 580 credit score and then, he was able to buy a home, to subsidize it and make it safer if you bundle up with a credit-worthy person that does everything right. Is this fair? Absolutely not. But this is what they're gonna put in effect, and they have authority to do it. They don't have to pass it through the Senate. They don't have to pass it through the House. So this is gonna go in effect. That doesn't mean people that they're not as credit-worthy are not gonna get affected. But the first people, the people that are gonna get penalized first from May 1st, are the people that they actually have good credit score and then a big down payment. The rest is gonna follow on the second page. I'm going to show you here. I have some notes here for you that every 20 points your credit score goes down, then you tend to pay more interest and more basis points, which are loan fees, right? Higher interest rate. And then this idea is based on equal opportunity and equal result. The idea of like the path to home ownership, let's say, right? Now we're going to touch on a base that's a little bit touchy about race. This path to home ownership, okay, it's a fact. It's easier for males and it's easier for especially white males in better cities and in better states, right? This is a fact. Now, what is going on now? This is they're trying to get an equal opportunity to people that they're minorities and they don't have the same amount of, let's say, exposure to better knowledge, to better education, to better role models, to better communities, right? So to better libraries. This is the idea here. Okay. Now, is this the best way to do it? Absolutely not. And then I'm gonna touch on this and what is a better alternative. But since they have this ability to do that, they're forcing into effect, and there is some pushback, but what can you do? They're gonna force a $40 a month on you if you are on top of this kind of like scale. That's why this is not fair, right? Because you've done everything right. I mean, yes, okay, you are in the lucky sperm club. You're white male in America. Doesn't get easier, right? But again, I mean, you've played your cards right, and then you've stacked the game in a way that you can succeed. I mean, you're playing the game in a way they want you to play it. So this is the issue here, that you as a good credit worthy person, you have to subsidize somebody else that the bank is not so sure he's not gonna foreclose on his home. Because here's the thing, right? If you have money, you can pay the $40 a month. If you don't, you won't be able to even afford that, although they're planning to put this into effect for lower credit scores as well, this subsidized situation. So it says, after the criticism, the agency delayed to August 1st an upfront fee for high debt to income ratios of 40% or more, right? So what it says is the first people that this is gonna go into effect on May 1st, which is like 10 days from now, has to do with the people that they have a big down payment, small debt to income ratios, and a great credit score, right? Over 720 or 740. This is what this says. So if you have a good credit score and then a higher debt to income ratio, this is gonna go into effect for you August 1st, but you're still gonna pay if you're applying for a loan, right? Nobody's gonna come and change your loan. This has to do with the newer loans that they're being right now in the process of underwriting. They're being in the process of being issued, right? So the buyers with a great credit score, this affirmative action goes in effect on May 1st, and these are the guys that they have a lower debt to income ratio. The fee changes are intended to subsidize higher risk borrowers by imposing internal disruption to traditional risk-based pricing. And like I said, I don't understand, like this is the problem here. Instead of going and fixing the problem, they kind of put a bandage on it, pretending it doesn't exist. Go and fix the communities, go and fix the school. And if you have to start at the lowest economic level communities, if you have to start at the minorities, schools and places, then go for it. Go to these places that they need most of your attention and help. And then this way you'll be able to, kind of lift this whole community up. Go and fix these things, and then, you see that people do better moves. But just by saying, I'm going to minimize my risk by penalizing my best customers to make them pay for like the worst, like let's say riskier customers, this is kind of like a crazy idea, right? Now, I understand the other side of the coin, because this is true too. It's true that people don't have the same opportunity. It's true that people don't have again, like I said, the same exposure to the same role models, just like in a poor community. This is true, and it's 100% something that has to be addressed. The issue is that when you go in so invasively and you make somebody else pay for your mistakes, everybody's gonna have an issue with that. Why is this done? It was done to try and narrow the gap in access to credit, especially for minority home buyers who often have lower down payments and credit scores. Easier access is gonna be given to the people that they have lower down payments and credit scores, and then they make the access harder to the people that they have high credit scores and down payments. This is totally upside down, totally backwards, makes absolutely no sense. And the bigger idea here, no matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican, is to gain votes. And then let's come out and say the lowest hanging fruit in any situation is the people that they have no education and they don't know how to understand things in depth, right? So the lowest hanging fruit in this community is like, people are gonna say, Biden helping lower economic level communities buy a home, although they might never buy a home. Just this is the narrative they're gonna push out on the news. That's the lowest hanging fruit. That's what Biden is gonna do to try get more votes. Again, has nothing to do if you're Republican or Democrat. This is just another way of gathering votes. That's the narrative, and then the best credit-worthy people are paying for it. This is the biggest issue. Now, another thing that I got here from Newsweek, it says, this new rule is unfairly penalizes Americans for having good credit and rewards those who accrue debt and don't pay their bills with cheaper loans. The way to expand access to housing isn't to reward bad credit, is to bring inflation down, very good point, reduce property taxes, cut energy costs, and invest in critical infrastructure. This is the way. This is exactly the way. Infrastructure, schools, education, exposure, help to get out of the projects, help to get out of unemployment, help to get out of disability, help to get out of all these things that they make you trapped. And they seem like they're helping, but then when you get trapped in there, then you stay in there. This is the solution to bring inflation down. But Biden, because he's in a mess right now, okay, and again, nothing to do with political preference, the economy is in a mess, he tries to kind of like go in and surgically minimize his risk. And this, again, it happens in the stock market, it happens in balancing portfolios. Riskier assets always have to be helped by the better performing ones, and then you have to cut what is kind of underperforming. This is not a new technique. The problem is that when it comes to people, and then especially people that are applying for a home, buying a home, again, is just like the stock market. It's a free market, right? Let the market decide, and then the loans decide what should be the price. Let the market decide who is going to be given that loan, right? Now, regulate the banks just like they've done so much better after 2008. But when you end up and making people pay for other people's mistakes, fix, then this whole thing kind of like avalanches down, and then everybody has an issue, especially the people that they kind of like entitled to like the better loans. I have a few things here. In short term, the may increase of home ownership among the targeted group, but I'm afraid it could decrease home ownership among the middle class. Jerry Howard, CEO, National Association of Home Builders. Only about 25% of home buyers with federal housing assistance loans are people of color, according to the White House. Black and Hispanic people on average have fewer savings, use smaller down payment on a home, and tend to have lower credit scores, according to Davis. So this is the idea. Black and Hispanic people, okay, they do not have the same access to opportunities as like white, especially males. And nobody disagrees with that. The problem is that these kind of minorities, they started later. So you have to help them out, come ahead, right? Especially in a free country like the US. But when you make like the higher bracket, the people that they've played the game, right, again, kind of like carry the weight of the people in the lower bracket, this creates a big disruption, and people have an issue with it. Help them by going into these communities and dealing with the problems, the drugs, the guns. Help them by giving them more role models. Help them by going in there and actually making an effort, not just kind of like try to balance your balance sheet from the back end and pretend they don't exist. This is how you help a community, by going in there and making sure you clean it up. Is it as easy? Absolutely not. People find ways to cut corners, people find ways to game the system, but the idea here is you go in and you try actually help, and you try to give them opportunities within this community to go out of there, come out of bad situations, to come out of bad role models, to come out of bad exposure, okay? This is how you fix this. But the idea of saying, oh, let this rich guy pay for this, poor uneducated guy, because this is the situation we're in right now and we have to balance our balance sheet, this is never gonna fly. They're gonna put it into action, they're gonna enforce it, but the thing is, you're gonna see, makes the gap bigger and bigger, because look at this, pay attention, right? This $40 a month for that rich person, I mean, he's gonna cry, he's gonna kind of say a few things, say don't do that or whatever, but they're still gonna enforce it, and he's still gonna pay it, because $40 for somebody that has a 20% down payment is not a big deal. But look at that, then you're making this middle class, again, you're squeezing the middle class as much as you can, because that's the thing. The lower people are gonna get in, and then gonna keep dropping off because they cannot maintain a home, and then the higher people, of course, are gonna pay this $40, but what are you gonna do, the middle class? You're gonna keep squeezing it, and then people are gonna be either the few that are gonna make more money, they're gonna be forced upwards, and then the other two are gonna be dropping downwards from the middle class back to the projects, back to these situations where they have to depend on the state to eat, live. This is actually shooting himself on the foot. It's just a ploy to get more votes, unfortunately. Is it fair? Absolutely not. Balancing and balance sheet, these are real people with real lives that they have to make real decisions, and just balancing and balance sheet, they're not thinking that behind these numbers and balance sheets there is actually decisions that they need to be made, people that they're getting affected. It's really dumb, and everybody's gonna have an issue with that. I really think that he's gonna have a lot of pushback. They prey on the people that they don't understand exactly what's going on. Unfortunately, this has nothing to do with political preference. It has everything to do with, not just putting a bandage on the whole thing and pretending it doesn't exist. You gotta go and solve the problem, but because unfortunately this is hard, then you don't want to deal with the mess of these communities, you pretend they don't exist, and then you just balance the balance sheet at the back end. Let me know what you guys think. I hope you got some value out of it, because that's a hot subject. I'll see you guys soon, and